Hello and welcome. This is a presentation that I ran for the Irish Refugee Council to show refugee entrepreneurs in Ireland different business models that they could use to build out their own businesses. So I'll be exploring different business types and also looking at some of the different costs involved with them. Okay, so the first one I'm going to look at here is some of the more traditional methods, and later on I'm going to look at some of the digital ones. But to kick off, one of the things when I talk to refugee entrepreneurs about their startups, oftentimes the default is, well, I'm going to have to rent a premises and open a shop and all of this sort of stuff. And I really try to dissuade them from that for obvious reasons. The big one being, look, most businesses fail. Businesses really should be started as an experiment, and the ones that fail and then don't meet the initial criteria, they need to be shut down and entrepreneurs need to move on to something else. So pop-up shops, I think, are a brilliant way of testing out an idea and seeing if the market is really ready for this and is interested in it. Typically they're delivered by the local council. So I'm here in Dunleary, Rathdown County Council, but you can do your research and you can find out who can do it. They're pretty inexpensive. You're talking about €300 for a week, and that is a good way to test out if you've got a decent idea that's going to make money or not. Now the downside is, and it's the same with the farmers market type ones we'll look at next, there's a long lead time. Everybody wants to try these out, but at the bottom of the page here you'll see sources. There's also private sources of pop-up opportunities that you can go to. So go popup and fillit.com, and you can filter by Ireland, Dublin. You can check that out. Couple of things with the local councils ones. You've got to get some insurance in place, public liability and content insurance. You must be able to prove that your particular offering is relevant and doesn't conflict with some other offerings that are already in that neighborhood, and you must have experience of delivering similar projects. That can be a tricky one if you're a first time entrepreneur, but perhaps you can find other ways of doing it, such as farmers markets first. But pop-up shops are definitely something that I push refugee startups and entrepreneurs towards because of the low cost. What I also say to them is, if you're thinking about doing something next year, register your interest for one of these things now, and maybe you'll be lucky and get a cancellation. I spoke to one chap who was running one just this week, and he got a cancellation and got in early. So that's some of the things you can look at. But I think the costs $300 per week to get a storefront in a place like Dunleary for a week. That's a really good opportunity. Some other tips around that: so choose your location carefully. You need to look at the area demographics. If you are selling high-end art, well, you need to go to an area that has a lot of high net worth people, for example. Doing advanced marketing is really important. So trying to get the word out in advance to your audience that your pop-up shop is going to be open in that time. Also, integrating online as much as possible, because if you get people walking through your shop, you want to give them some sort of incentive to capture their emails, get them on social media so that you can nurture them and follow them over time, maybe getting a conversion later. Also, the pop-up shop is a great way to get one-to-one feedback from a lot of people. So trying to understand and get some honest feedback from them. What do they like about this? What do they not like about this? What other things might you be able to do that they would find more attractive, and that they would be more willing to spend their money on? Those are some of the things we're trying. And also, and this goes for farmers markets as well, a lot of the time customers will really buy into a brand if you have a very interesting backstory, and refugees tend to have a lot of very interesting and compelling backstories that people will emotionally buy into. That's a great way to get people to buy into your brand and get repeat customers and get word of mouth marketing going for your business as well. Market stalls, pretty similar, very long waiting lists for them. The key thing to understand is that the markets themselves and the costs involved will vary significantly depending on if you're doing crafts or if you're doing cold food or if you're doing hot food. So that's something to be very aware of. Food stands also need to be both registered with the HSE and be HSE certified. So you have to complete a HSE course for that and have the relevant insurance in place. I'd recommend for anybody who's looking at this as an opportunity in Ireland, and everything I'm talking about here is about Ireland, go to mass.ie. They have a lot of really good resources and they're very helpful. They can help you with inexpensive insurance, they can help you understand the costs in more detail, and they'll also have a list of the different markets that are going on. So mass.ie, for any entrepreneurs in Ireland, take a look at that. Some of the typical costs, and again, these being provided by Mass. So you're going to need a collapsible table. So here you're talking about €89. You may need a gazebo. So pop-up tents have that at about €490. You'll need to have a hot and cold sink. You'll need to have insurance. You'll also even need to be paying the license and pitch fees, and that's where it can get very expensive, or very inexpensive, depending on the location that you're choosing and depending on the type of product that you're selling. The license and pitch fees can range from, in Dublin City, 500 up to 5,000, so a factor of 10 there, and something similar in Dún Laoghaire, Rathdown. So again, there's a link here that can show you the different market rents. So it can be a lot more expensive than the pop-up shops, but again, if you can find some of the less expensive ones to test out an idea and maybe work your way up to those more expensive ones, if you can get them, because again, they're very popular. Another one worth looking at, and where I'm using the phrase low cost here, they are somewhat low cost, but franchises are something worth looking at. I've picked out just a couple of ones here from the Irish market. So for example, if you have any sort of mechanical background, well, Puncture Safe is one of the options that you could go for. You're going to need at least €1,970 to buy into that, and that's really puncture repairs, puncture prevention. Other ones range from the delivery guys to Damp Doctor. So again, Damp Doctor, if you've got some sort of a background in anything building related, maybe that could be one, but the investment required goes up significantly. Here you're talking about €15,000. So again, franchises are something worth looking at. These are the sort of costs that you're going to have to think about though, but again, maybe a couple of people can come together as a team and raise that sort of funding. Looking at digital then, and especially for the younger generations, I own a digital business, but again, it tends to be even younger than me who will go down this route. But there's a lot of very interesting options where the setup costs can be very low, but the returns can be very high. YouTube is one that I get asked about quite a lot, especially under the COVID setup. So anybody who was looking at starting any sort of events business, they're now having to look at, well, how can we do this now online, and what sort of business models are there out there where you can actually make money from this? YouTube have a partner program that essentially will allow you to start sharing revenue with YouTube, which is pretty attractive. In order to get onto the partner program, you need at least 1,000 subscribers and at least 4,000 watch hours in the previous period. But it will then allow you to get a share of their ad revenue from people that are watching those your videos. Also, you can go down the route of premium revenue, where you can start to charge members for subscriptions to content that is not freely available to other people. So you can sell your channel memberships. Again, you can only do that if you have over 30,000 subscribers. You can also merchandise other goods there if you have more than 10,000 subscribers. And there's some other options as well. But the key thing here is you have to have something that is interesting enough that you can get 1,000, then 10,000, then 30,000 subscribers and up. But if you can get to that level, if you have something compelling enough, then you can start making a reasonable amount of money. The top earners, of course, are making millions a year out of this. One tip around that, joining a video rights marketplace like Duke Media will make sure that nobody else is taking your videos and reselling them themselves. So, YouTube, an interesting one to look at. On the e-learning side, I own an e-learning company. It is a really incredible business model. If you have unique domain expertise, so unique expertise on a particular topic, this is how you might have an opportunity to launch an e-learning business. The first step would be identifying not only the competition, but your competitive advantage against the competition. I won't go into an entire marketing spiel here, but you need to be able to compare your proposed offering versus free versions that are out there. Your offering is going to have to be more compelling, obviously, for people to pay. You can use different tools, search engine optimization tools like Google's keyword tracker, to identify how much demand is there for this, whether it's in Ireland or whether it's globally. How many people are running searches for these particular phrases every day, every week, every month, every year? And that will tell you, is there a critical mass of demand to build a business around this? Uh, you need to choose an e-learning platform then. So all you really need is PowerPoint. You can just build up your own presentations from there and then pay an e-learning platform like LearnUpon is one I use. They're an Irish company. They charge €3,000 per annum. So pretty simple model. And then the key is, how are you going to attract people? What's your marketing strategy? What are your channels? Will you do it through search engine optimization, paid advertising, strategic partnerships? What are the different options? But that really is the key. You have to know, how are you going to actually reach out to enough people to get the sales coming in? Anybody can build a product, anybody can put out e-learning courses, but if nobody buys them, what's the point? So you need to make sure you have answers to those questions. Another fairly straightforward one is this subscription or membership group, whether it's online or offline. Initially, you can provide certain information for free to attract in an audience, but then for more valuable information, or maybe for some mentoring or consulting, you can charge extra. Khaled Azrag is someone that I met then in Cork before COVID shut the whole place down. NASC had an event for refugee entrepreneurs, and Khaled was one of the speakers. He was essentially a fitness trainer in his home country, and he started a personal training business in Cork, and he's done very well out of it. So that is an example of something where very low startup costs, but if you're very good at what you do, if you can carve out a unique business opportunity, well, then you can start to charge people in for that, and you can do it again on a subscription or membership group. So whether it's offline like that, or other ones like online. So here I've just put in a couple of ideas to kind of get people thinking, but things like post-divorce life coaching is one, productivity coaching, coaching people on how to do freelance writing. All of these different things are already up and running around the world, and people are making money from them. Also, online marketplaces are worth exploring. Again, lots of the refugee entrepreneurs that I've been speaking with have had ideas about, look, in my home country or in another country where I've been, the clothes are much less expensive and much higher quality than they are here in Ireland. I'm thinking about shipping them into Ireland. Well, okay, but if you go and you have to rent a shop for that and have all of these massive overheads, how are you going to afford that? How are you going to ship these items in? Are you going to do it in bulk and so on? Maybe online marketplaces are a smarter way to test the market and see if there's any real demand here, and if you can achieve the prices and the margins, so the profits that you're thinking about. So first of all, some tips around online marketplaces. The key thing is to find what's called a beachhead product. So this is your number one product that is really your main seller. Supermarket, for example, it's bread and milk. That is the key reason why people go to a supermarket. But then they start to expand and sell everything else around that. So your beachhead product is really important. That's the one that you'll base your business around. Just be aware of restricted categories when you're talking about online marketplaces. Some things are not allowed on some of them. Cannabis related products, sometimes pharmaceutical related products, and so on. A good tip is, when you're looking for an idea, look under the sponsored ads. Anybody who has money to pay for advertising means that they are making profits out of this. So that's a good way of identifying what's really selling out there and what's making money. Also, there's other digital tools that you can use. One of them is Jungle Scout. So running some searches in there will start to tell you exactly what's selling, what volume is it selling. Also, even drilling down to, well, what's selling in Ireland, because there's no point in finding out what's selling in the United States. It might not be relevant. So a tool like that is important before you even jump into it. And also, fulfillment by Amazon is both a really helpful service because it will do all of the fulfillment for you, and also it will give you some ideas about, well, how much money can you actually make off something like this. There's loads of different places that you can use online marketplaces. Most of us know about Amazon and eBay, but there's also things like Etsy, Rakuten, Newegg, Bonanza, and some of these specialize in particular product areas. So for example, if you wanted to do something in the tech area, Newegg is probably a better one than the likes of Amazon. So doing your research around that is important. You also need to think about, what will our business model be now, but what do we want it to be later? Is this simply a launch pad for a different model? So do we want to use an online marketplace to test the market, to learn a little bit about the business in an inexpensive way? And then if that is successful, how do we want to expand that later? Do we want to open up a physical presence? What is it that we want to do? There's also lots of different ways that you can use these online marketplaces. So one of them is called retail arbitrage, and essentially that is the difference between your price to the consumer as a retailer and the high street price to a retailer. So drop shipping things from Alibaba and so on. Essentially, you're just keeping the profit. Another way, of course, is buying in wholesale, and then you put on your profit and you sell it to the consumers at street prices. And then other things like private label manufacturers. So you can commission a manufacturer to make a product, or rather they're already making it. You can commission them to put your logo on it and you modify it so that you can charge more. And eventually you can start to manufacture your own product as well. But the key thing really is to consider perhaps reselling somebody else's product first so that you can prove the market, make sure that you know what you're doing, make sure that you have the whole logistics in place, and once all of those elements are proven, then you can look at building your own product, and of course then you're building a brand and making much more money as well. That's probably the smarter move. We talk a lot about lean enterprise. That would be lean, where there's quite a low cost to you and quite low risk, but you can still make a fair bit of money. Some of the costs involved, just to give you an idea then, if you wanted to do this on Amazon.com, firstly, if you should register to sell as an individual initially. That way you'll be charged 99 cents per sale instead of the $39.99 per month that they'll charge you to sell as a professional. You'll need to buy some initial inventory, open the account. UPC codes are something that you'll need if you want to sell in the United States. Maybe you'll need some product photography, maybe you'll need a logo, maybe you won't. But overall, the general costs of doing something like this on Amazon ranges from about, this is all US dollars, about $200 to about $500. So that's the sort of range that you can talk about in terms of investment required. I hope you found this presentation helpful. If you'd like to get in touch with me, here's my email address. I'd be interested in hearing if there's other business models that you would have liked to explore during this presentation or to learn more about. And also, my organization, Sarum, provides free startup mentoring to refugee entrepreneurs. So if you're a refugee entrepreneur in Ireland looking for some advice, please feel free to reach out to me. There's no charge for anything that I do. Thank you and goodbye.